Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Gabbard, I didn't intend to get into the Jeffrey Goldberg story, but something you said has sort of puzzled me. According to open source reporting at 11:44 on the morning of March 15th, Secretary Hegseth put into this group text a detailed operation plan, including targets, the weapons we were going to be using, attack sequences, and timing. And yet you've testified that nothing in that chain was classified. Wouldn't that be classified? What if that had been made public that morning before the attack took place?
Senator, I can attest to the fact that there were no classified or intelligence equities that were included in that chat group at any time.
So the attack sequencing and timing and weapons and targets you don't consider should have been classified?
I defer to the Secretary of Defense and the National Security Council on that question.
When questioned during a Senate hearing, the Director of National Intelligence confirmed that this message was indeed sent. However, he went further to say that nothing in the message was considered classified or protected under intelligence secrecy laws. This claim stunned the questioning senator, who pointed out the obvious. How could information about weaponry, attack sequencing, and operational timing not be classified? Those are the kinds of details that, if leaked, could compromise the entire mission, endanger lives, and provide adversaries with a strategic advantage. The director's justification was vague and evasive. Instead of providing a direct answer, he deferred the question to the Secretary of Defense and the National Security Council. Yet, as the head of the intelligence community, his role includes having definitive knowledge of what is or isn't considered classified. The fact that he couldn't, or wouldn't, offer a clear response created a sense of mistrust and uncertainty. If such a high-level official isn't sure what qualifies as classified information, it calls into question the entire system of intelligence oversight and internal security. The senator then made a bold suggestion. If the director was so confident that nothing in the group text was classified, then the full text thread should be released to the public. That way, the American people could see for themselves what was said and determine whether that kind of information should have been protected. This suggestion put further pressure on the intelligence leadership and brought up major concerns about transparency and accountability. The core issue revolves around the standards of classification and the protocols for handling sensitive operational data. In the digital age, where a single message can be forwarded, screenshotted, or leaked in seconds, the casual handling of top-level military information is a glaring vulnerability. It reflects either a serious lapse in judgment or a dangerous underestimation of the risks involved.
You approved this report, this annual report, prepared by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. Is this submitted to the White House routinely in anticipation of its public release?
I don't know what you mean by submitted routinely.
Was this report submitted to the White House before its release today?
It was submitted to them once it was completed. I think probably around the same time it was sent to all of you.
I want to move on. One note that surprised me, I've been on this committee now this is my 13th year. Every single one of these reports that we have had has mentioned global climate change as a significant national security threat, except this one. Has something happened? Has global climate change been solved? Why is that not in this report? And who made the decision that it should not be in the report when it's been in every one of the 11 prior reports?
Each year, this issue has been highlighted for its potential to cause mass migration, food shortages, political instability, and violent conflicts around the globe. It was widely accepted across administrations, including during the Trump presidency, that climate change creates dangerous ripple effects that can directly and indirectly endanger American interests at home and abroad. However, this year's report marks a significant and unsettling shift. Climate change has been left out entirely. This omission did not go unnoticed. A senior senator, who has served on the Intelligence Committee for 13 years, raised the issue during a hearing. He pointed out that all previous reports, regardless of political leadership, had included climate change as a critical factor. The senator was clearly surprised and concerned that this time the threat had been removed without explanation. He demanded answers from the Director of National Intelligence about why such a historically consistent issue had suddenly disappeared from the assessment. The director responded by saying that this year's report focused only on what they considered the most extreme and critical threats to national security, while acknowledging that environmental changes can have an impact on global affairs. He insisted that the report concentrated solely on more immediate dangers. He denied giving explicit instructions to exclude climate change, but he also didn't take responsibility for its omission. This vague and evasive stance left more questions than answers and fueled the perception that the intelligence community was intentionally downplaying a serious and scientifically recognized threat. Climate change isn't just about weather. It's about how rising sea levels, droughts, wildfires, and extreme temperatures can destabilize regions, disrupt economies, and lead to humanitarian crises. These events, in turn, lead to mass displacement, increase competition over scarce resources, and can ignite or intensify armed conflicts. The U.S. military and intelligence agencies have long acknowledged that these secondary effects can lead to situations where American troops are deployed, where allies are destabilized, and where threats to American citizens and interests increase. Removing climate change from the official list of threats doesn't make those risks disappear, it just makes the country less prepared for them. What's especially troubling is that this change appears to be politically motivated rather than based on evolving intelligence. With the growing divide over environmental policy in the United States, leaving out climate change sends a message that national security assessments may be increasingly shaped by ideology rather than facts. That undermines trust not only in the reports themselves, but in the leadership that's tasked with protecting the nation.
I can't speak to the decisions made previously, but this annual threat assessment has been focused very directly on the threats that we deem most critical to the United States and our national security. Obviously, we're aware of occurrences within the environment and how they may impact operations, but we're focused on the direct threats to Americans' safety, well-being, and security.
How about how they? Final questions in a few short seconds that I have left. You all concede, and it's in the report repeatedly, about the cyber danger from China, from Russia, from Iran. Why then is the administration deconstructing CISA? 130 people fired. The General Hawk talked about the importance of public-private cooperation. That section of CISA seems to have been disestablished. What possible policy reason is there for undermining CISA's relationship to the states with regard to elections and to the private sector with regard to cybersecurity when the cybersecurity threat is only growing?
Cybersecurity cannot function effectively in isolation. It requires a unified national effort across all sectors. The decision to remove so many key people from CISA undermines years of progress in building those cooperative structures. This decision came under direct scrutiny during the Senate hearing. A senator questioned why the administration would weaken the very agency responsible for defending against cyber threats, especially when the report highlights the rising dangers. None of the intelligence officials present could provide a clear explanation. In fact, most admitted they had no insight into the staffing decisions being made, which raised even more concerns about transparency and accountability. If the leaders responsible for national security are not consulted, or even informed, about such sweeping changes, it raises serious red flags about how cybersecurity policy is being managed. When asked if it made sense to reduce cyber defenses in the face of increased threats, one panelist defended the move by claiming that the administration is focused on effects and not headcount. The idea, they said, is to streamline operations and ensure that resources are used efficiently. However, that explanation rings hollow when the very people being cut were part of the nation's first line of defense against cyber warfare. Efficiency should never come at the cost of preparedness. It is also important to recognize that cyber attacks can have consequences far beyond stolen data. They can paralyze hospitals, disrupt energy grids, disable communications, and even manipulate elections. The damage from a single, well-executed cyber attack can rival that of a physical attack. Weakening the agency tasked with preventing these disasters at such a crucial time is not just illogical, it is dangerous.
Anybody want to tackle that?
I won't speak for all of my colleagues here, but I don't believe any of us have any insight into those specific staffing decisions that have been made.
Well, let me ask you this question. You've all found, the report has found explicitly growing cyber threats, including to elections from Russia, China, Iran. Do you believe that it's in the national interest to diminish our capacity to deal with those cyber issues? Yes or no?
President Trump is focused on effects and making sure that the people that we have and the resources that we have are focused on our national security. He and his team recognize that more people doesn't necessarily always mean better effects. Those are some of the things that are driving the changes that we're seeing across the administration, is getting all of our agencies back and focused on their core mission.
General Hawk, do you agree that...
Senator King, your time has
expired.
expired.
Up. Thank you.